Hello, my friends. I want to share something that I've understood of the closeness of the desolation to come. Remember in Luke 21, where Jesus is describing the end of days, he says, when you see armies surrounding Jerusalem, know that its desolation is near. And we see that right now. It's clear as day in the world. You have armies surrounding it. They have their eyes over it. It is an idol and a stumble block of the Protestants because they come from the same tree as the Catholics that they rebelled against. The Catholics picked Mary as their idol. The Protestants have picked Israel and those who call themselves Jews as their idol. One and the same thing. A cherry tree, when a branch of it breaks off and falls to the ground, if it were to somehow grow roots and become a tree, it's still going to be a cherry tree. Likewise, the Protestants can break away from the Catholics, but it's the same tree. It can never grow into something different. They're going to do the same things, which you see happen manifest, and they've brought it to come about. They have brought the events that happened in 1948 to come about. This whole Zionist movement, you have the Jews who were Jewish Zionists that brought it about with those who were Christian Zionists who brought it about. And they made a covenant with many in 1948. Remember, always speak of the Antichrist and the Antichrist kingdom. It's a covenant formed with many. That was the United Nations in 1948 making that covenant to bring those who call themselves Jews but are not Jews but are a synagogue of Satan back into Israel, taking the people that were on the land off of the land, people that were a remnant of the people that were there at Pentecost 2,000 years ago. They were displaced in favor of the synagogue of Satan, a covenant made with many, the United Nations, the world agreeing to this. And you have all of these things happen that has led up to today, where you had the red heifers, which were raised in Texas, born in Texas, that were sent to Israel so that they may have their ceremony to raise up their third temple, as they call it, because they don't have the third temple, which is Jesus Christ. So they have to build one themselves apart from Christ, which makes them anti-Christ. And you have these things happening right now. And remember, all this talk about these red heifers that we've heard over the last couple of years. First off, I've really understood something that I didn't before, because when you are looking for things, when you're looking for truth in the world, the Lord will show it to you. But you have to be patient in order to see it. You have to have your eyes open to the Spirit and be patient, because it's a process to learn these things. We don't just snap the fingers and we know it. Sometimes that happens. But with other things, it takes one thing after the next for you to be able to see it. You take a look at those who call themselves Jews right now. They are split, much like the Protestants split from the Catholics. You're seeing a schism within Judaism right now, the same as you saw the schism between the Catholics and the Protestants. And part of those Jews were the Zionist Jews, which you could call them the Pharisees of Jesus' day, that literally took place in the Holocaust. They helped Germany in the Holocaust. They handed their own people over to be slaughtered because their main mission was to have the land for themselves. And they knew that was one way to get there. Yes, let's kill them all if it means we can have Jerusalem again. So they were Nazi collaborators. All of this is widespread knowledge and historical fact. You have that sect that's doing the same exact thing right now when it comes to Hamas and everything that's going on there currently. You have that sect that literally, the one guy stood up and said nuclear bombs are potentially a possibility of happening. In other words, just blow up everybody there so that we can have our land to ourselves. Even though it's not their land, it's stolen land because it's the Lord's, and they are not of the Lord. But in their Zionist mind, in their Pharisaical Antichrist mind, you have that sect that believes exactly the same thing today as they did then. And you have the Christians that call themselves Christians that support that. So you have the Zionist Jews and the Zionist Christians as being one and the same entity whenever you look at what they're actually doing, what they're planning, what they're thinking, what they desire of their hearts. It's one and the same thing. And then you have those Christians who look at this situation and say, hey, wait a minute. They're killing Christians over there. Well, I thought the Jews were God's chosen people. Why is God allowing them to kill Christians? And they're thinking about these kind of things. And you have the Jews who are saying, hey, wait a minute. They're killing innocent people over there now. We want no part of this. We're not part of this Zionism that you call it. We believe in God, and we don't believe what you're doing is right in his eyes. And you have the Jews that have broken apart from that Zionist group of Jews. And they're actually protesting the events that are there. They're protesting it more than the Christians are in many cases. And this is really something whenever you think about what would a true end time resurrection look like? And I'm not talking about the actual physical resurrection that happens. I'm talking about what would that revival actually look like? Who would be part of that revival of people? Remember, the Christians have sold their birthright to those who call themselves Jews. They say they're God's chosen people. Many of the Christians have done this. They've sold away their own birthright. So what does God do? He gives that birthright to them. They've purchased it. So you have a lot of these people that call themselves Jews. Guess what? They will believe in the Messiah before those Christians who are Zionists will ever believe in the Messiah. They will see the kingdom of heaven before they will. And it's really amazing. And it fulfills the scripture exactly as Paul spoke of it, that in the world, your enemy is not your brother, it's not your neighbor, it's not anybody, it's not any flesh. In the world, the flesh is not your enemy. It is the powers and the principalities behind that flesh that is your enemy. And I've spoken on this throughout my time of speaking of the things of God on several different videos about the governments and about all kind of different things that we see in the world. It's the powers and the principalities that are behind that evil. So somebody that calls themselves a Jew, I live around plenty of people that call themselves Jews. I work with people that call themselves Jews. I get along just fine with every single one of them. I have family that calls themselves Jews. I have Christian friends. I work with Christians. I know Christians for a long time, obviously, as that's predominantly the people that live in my area. I know Muslims. I know Hindus. I know all these different people. Some of the best people to me in my entire life were actually Hindus. I go to a gas station, for instance, just to speak of this. I go to a gas station, and the woman who orders and does a lot for the gas station, she specifically gets the things that I need. I wouldn't find that many of the times in other places if I'm going to, just a normal gas station that isn't run by Hindus. That's why I go to that one. There are people of all kind, all flesh, that believe in different things because they're all in a state of rebellion, all closed for some reason or another to the truth. But that in time, when their hearts are ready, they will be willing to believe it when they see it. And that's why the powers and the principalities behind Zionism, for instance, that is the enemy. It's not the person. It's not even their religious belief, as religion is the world. It's not of God's. God is faith. God is spirit. But all of these different ones, it's the powers behind them that have led them astray. It is the devil himself that has led them astray. And that's why the Jews that are against what is happening, that are not Zionists, not believing that they control the hand of God by their own works, I have more in common with them right now than I do these Christians you see all over YouTube talking about the rapture, who are praying for Israel to destroy their enemies. I actually have more in common with them now than even those who claim to be my brothers. And that's the schism that I see of this time, and that's what the end would look like according to the Lord. This is exactly what it is supposed to look like. brother against brother. Your own enemies will be the ones in your own house, the ones who turn Jesus over to crucify him. It all is manifesting right now in the world in different variations of degrees. And it's amazing to see this play out like this, a true revival whenever it is ready. And the catalyst to that entire revival is the coming of the Lord, to take the remnant up to him, to rescue out of Jerusalem before it goes up in flames, the remnant that's there, to rescue from the four corners of the earth all of those who remain in him, who have steadfast in him and believed in him and not made a different path outside of him. When they go up into the air, that's the catalyst for all of the other people, a number, a multitude too great to count, that will then believe. They will be of all different religions, all different races, all different everything in the world. When they see it, then their hearts will open to it. The scales removed from all of the world's eyes at once. But then you will have the other side of that, which will then be hell-bent on destroying any of them who do convert to believe in the Lord. They will persecute them, put them to death, put them in prison. That is the great tribulations. That is the end of the days before the whole earth is destroyed and rebuilt. Those are the days we're coming in, because you can see this schism occurring right now over the earth in a way that it's never been able to be before. And the reason I bring up this whole red heifers and the end time prophecies and all of these kind of things, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, this is a requirement of the law that the Lord has commanded. Tell the Israelites to bring you a red heifer without defect or blemish, and that has never been under a yoke. Remember that, under a yoke. This will be a lasting ordinance, both for the Israelites and for the aliens living amongst them. Notice the aliens living amongst them. The same thing that I'm speaking about in this video, about how a people too great to count will come into the truth after they see it, after they witness the event that these ones call the rapture. And notice the yoke. Remember the Bible verse, if you listen to my video from yesterday, that has stayed on my phone for over a week. Galatians 5:1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. This is why the verse has remained on my phone. Even though every day prior to this for a year and a half, it was a different verse. But this one has stayed on my phone for a week and a half. And why? Because here's the correlation. Here's what the Lord has brought to me through the experience of my everyday walk of life. The yoke, the return of the law, the attempt to bring it back, the entering back into slavery, the bondage of Satan. This yoke in the red heifer is connected. And they may have already sacrificed one of those red heifers. You just don't know because of everything that's happened over there. Or it may be happening at some point in the future. But either way, it is going to happen. And here could potentially be that real catalyst why the Lord has showed me Israel as being an idol, and the golden calf that the Protestants worship, just like the Catholics worship Mary. The golden calf, the red heifer, thrown into the flames. When those red heifers are thrown into the fire, that's a day I expect to see something right around that period of time. Because once the golden calf, once the red heifer is thrown back into that fire, and they perform all of these rituals to bound themselves back under the yoke of the law, that is the appearance of the Lord to rescue those who are apart from the law. That is the day, that is the hour of that rapture. We may not know exactly when that's going to come, as he's going to come and appear at a time that's his, at a time that we'll just be standing here doing nothing just as we are, and then boom, it's here. It's just like anything else that happens in life. You can't predict 1 second into the future, and neither can we predict 1 second into this. But it's going to come in this manner, and it's attached to these red heifers and the golden calf. According to the Bible, this is a Wikipedia, the golden calf was an idol made by the Israelites when Moses went up to Mount Sinai. And it's the incident known as the sin of the calf. bull worship, the sin of the calf, the golden calf, and these red heifers, it's all attached to the yoke of slavery, which is the law, which is anti-Christ or apart from Christ or an adversary of Christ. The law and grace are separate. And this is the end of the period of grace and the beginning of the Antichrist's reign. The golden calf, when it's thrown into the fire, attached to the red heifer when it's burnt into the fire, then we know we're at the end of the days. When Jerusalem is surrounded by its enemies and the red heifer is burnt and everything else is lined up, you know you're at the end of the days. And those red heifers are attached to this in one way or another. The burning of the golden calf and the burning of that red heifer, it is attached. Now it's interesting that whenever you read about this, Moses, when he went up, this is when the golden calf was made, which we know when Jesus went up, the golden calf has been produced in our generation. It's the same exact thing. I've spoken on this before. But when he came back down, that is when the golden calf was thrown into the fire. So it almost, to me, timing-wise, would be like the red heifers are going to be thrown into the fire and burnt into their ashes so that they can begin to perform their ceremonies. They're going to perform those ceremonies, making that golden calf into the ceremonial golden calf. And right after that period of time, at some point, because obviously they were worshiping this golden calf before Moses got down there, there's going to be a period where they're going to be performing these ceremonies, putting themselves back under the law, and then Christ is going to come down. But again, this is something where once you see it happen, you know you're in that time, you're prepared for it. It's just like, waiting on somebody to arrive, but you don't know exactly when they're going to arrive. As soon as we know that the red heifer ceremony was performed, as soon as we know that these things have taken place, then we know that the destruction of Jerusalem has come. That is its moment of destruction. That is when to look for that. And know that when that comes, that's when grace has ended. And those of grace, apart from that yoke, will be delivered. While those who put themselves back under the burden of the yoke, they will be put back under that law and held according to that law, which brings the judgment of God. And this all happens within a very short period of time. For the sake of the elect, the end is cut short. It all happens very short period of time. And we're literally watching those days take place. So it's quite something to watch all of this play out. And I'm quite certain you won't hear this perspective very few other places on the internet, especially with how they do the algorithms. Those who do know the Lord and who speak about the things that are really actually happening, nobody listens to us. Nobody pays attention to us. The algorithms don't boost us. But for all of those one or two here and there that can benefit from something from it, as we encourage each other, as we see this day approaching, they're the one or two who will listen and they will understand and recognize. So we're living in those very times. Pay attention to anything coming out about the red heifers as it's attached to the burning of Jerusalem. And know that when we see these things, just as we are right now, look up, because the redemption has drawn nigh. God bless.